Hey, you're watching Hockey Analytics with Timo Seppa. It's the last night of the regular season, so what better topic to talk about on a night where the games don't matter than alternate playoff scenarios? What's my idea? Well, first of all, we've been doing this format of playing within your division now for quite a few years, and I would say probably, especially if you were the LA Kings, you're probably getting tired of seeing the Edmonton Oilers in the first round every year. Now, maybe there's extra drama this year. Maybe LA beats Edmonton, and now you can say, look at the drama of them playing each other for so many years, and now LA has finally overcome Edmonton. Well, maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. I think it would just be a lot better, first of all, to play within your conference and go essentially the first seed plays the eighth seed, seed plays the seventh seed, and so on. But all right, that's not much of a twist. Let's talk about play-in games. Now, other sports have done this. Baseball has done this for a little while. I think the format that I'm thinking of would add a lot of excitement and would bring a bunch of other things to hockey. Let me tell you what my idea is. So, for the final playoff spot for the eighth seed would not automatically make it into the playoffs to play against the one seed. You'd have a mini play-in tournament in each conference between the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th place teams. So almost like you'd have a regional in NCAA basketball or NCAA hockey, and with that same excitement. So I would say hosted at the 8th place team, so that gives them a little bit of a bump. You get a regional, essentially, that's played over 2 nights. So you're just adding 2 or 3 days into the NHL schedule, and with the way that the first round series are starting, several of the series don't start until well into next week. So they're starting the series slowly as it is. What would that mean for this season? Well, you'd have in the East, you'd have Montreal as the 8th seed, and they would be playing against the Rangers as the 11th seed, with Columbus and Detroit as the other game. That would be hosted in a regional in Montreal. Winners from the first night play against each other in the second night to find out who goes on in the playoffs. In the Western Conference, you would have had a close race between Minnesota and St. Louis to decide who was the 7th seed and who was the 8th seed. So Minnesota would have squeaked in and gotten straight into the playoffs, but St. Louis as the 8th seed would now be hosting this kind of regional, this play-in tournament. And they'd be playing, interestingly, against the new franchise, against the Utah Hockey Club. And the other game, very intriguingly, would be Calgary versus Vancouver. So imagine that as a play-in tournament. St. Louis against Utah, Calgary versus Vancouver. And again, in the East, that would be Montreal and the Rangers, Columbus and Detroit. A lot of excitement over a couple of days. It becomes its own mini tournament, its own mini playoffs. Even if that team doesn't get any further, how exciting to be hosting that mini tournament, how exciting to be getting out of that mini tournament. So a lot of extra excitement for the NHL if they were to do that. What would it mean for the series? We'd have a lot of different series than what we have now when we're locked into the divisions. So you'd have Washington against the tournament winner, Toronto hosting New Jersey, Tampa hosting Ottawa, Carolina hosting Florida. And in the Western Conference, you'd have Winnipeg, the President's Trophy winner, hosting the tournament winner, Vegas against Minnesota, Dallas hosting Edmonton, and LA hosting Colorado, something other than LA and Edmonton. What are the other ramifications that would come out of such a format? I like what it does to the draft lottery. I would make the draft lottery only between the 5 teams in each conference, so 10 teams overall that did not make it into the play-in tournament. So in the East, you've got the Islanders, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Philadelphia, and Boston. In the West, you've got Anaheim, Seattle, Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose. I would keep the draft lottery only between those 10 teams. If you had some kind of a simple system of the worst record gets 10 ping pong balls, next worst record gets 9 ping pong balls, and so on, you'd have a roughly 2% chance of the best team that didn't make the play-in tournament of getting the draft lottery, and the team that's got the worst record would have more like a close to a 20% chance. So I like that. I think that's fair. And then now all those 8th through 11th place teams in each conference, they are not in the draft lottery. So the teams that don't win that play-in tournament, they are just ranked by record. And then, of course, from the teams that make the playoffs proper, now you'd rank them like you would otherwise. So I think a format that would add a lot of excitement to hockey with play-in tournament, reward the 7th place team for making it into the playoffs and not having to play in the play-in tournament, reward the 8th place team with hosting the play-in tournament, reward the 8th through 11th place teams with getting a chance to make it into the playoffs through the play-in tournaments. And obviously you have the teams jockeying for those positions, trying to get up to the 7th seed in their conference, trying to get up to the 11th seed in their conference, leaving competition a lot longer in the season. Overall, I think it's a great system. And then, like I said, just keep the draft lottery teams to the essentially the bottom 10 teams in the league, the bottom 5 in each conference. So that's my idea. Let me know what you think about it. Until next time, thanks. We'll be seeing you.